It's 17:38 and it's still the 9th of June and we're still in 2023, and the purpose of this upload is for the interests of women and children's rights. For those that are in any matrimonial contracts, be it between same sex or men and women, I think there's a little bit of a thuggery mentality in the southwest of Ireland with regard to the level and extent of violence that My Holy Matrimony has experienced. It has experienced a huge level of crime and thuggery, and there has been violence that has been caused by individuals in this community that have become enemies of the state and enemies of royalty. There are people that are discussing My Holy Matrimony that aren't exactly in a safe place to be discussing My Holy Matrimony. And today I have voiced and shared and vocalized the level of offence that the church contract between my spouse, a missing person, presumably, for God knows, only knows, God help us, I've been put in this awful predicament, fighting the cold and trying to locate my child, a missing person, and I'm a married mother, and this is a modern day democracy. So it's a little bit rude that there are people in the community that is County Kerry, Southwest Ireland, that have been imposing upon Holy Matrimony, and it's been quite cheeky what these people have been discussing in their politics and their plans regarding property that they're not permitted to be discussing. So unfortunately today I've had to vocalise the level of crime that has arisen from my church marriage of the 30th of the 3rd 2015, that has been subject to bigamous actions, and also that has been subject to lawyers, representatives that have been threatening fraud against the church records and my matrimony. The role of legal eagles in this circumstance is quite dirty. It's really dangerous for the devil's advocate, as they're called sometimes, to be offending a royal matrimonial ceremony that is still legally binding, and with it are obligations. It's a Catholic ceremonial royal contract, and this community has discussed my matrimony without my consent or without respect for the truth. I don't resort to lies. I don't choose to tell lies, and this community has been telling awful dirty dangerous lies for a very long time. So it's a little bit unsafe for people to be imposing upon my matrimonial arrangements with legal frauds or I suppose curiosities that are, I suppose, just curious about other people's living arrangements or lifestyles or livelihoods. That I have experienced what I have experienced as a married mother, as a professional qualified property owner, is not very safe for the society that has benefited from legislation and social reform and recovery advocacy from me. So it might be in the best and safest interests of any individuals that are curious about discussing other people's matrimony, which is always quite dangerous. It's always quite unsafe discussing other people's private lives. But if I so much choose to air the crime that has been imposed upon my husband and I and our innocent, beautiful child, that is at my discretion. That is my choice. There have been political agendas and property thieves that have been trespassing on my farms and discussing my name and implicating agencies of the state to offend me and to offend my child. And these people are a hazard to people's lives. So it might be best that on the side of caution, those that are discussing my matrimony with the past 5 or 6 years that have been telling porkies or telling lies or being rude to our private lives, it might be safer to limit the input or output of lies that have been shared that defame my good name, character, reputation. There are people trying to delude themselves regarding property ownership. In the southwest of Ireland, as we know, there have been financial racketeers that are constantly spinning publicity stunts and living off other people's creative artistic property. Well, this is the same applies with my farms, and it's awful dangerous when an innocent child's life is implicated in other arrangements of other people's lives that aren't of my family name, McElligott. The McElligott name that I hold and the titles that I hold from the McElligott family, both on my father's side and in my maternal family, or my matrimonial family, I mean, are lovely. They're lovely family, the McElligotts. And it's very dangerous for our lovely family to be upset or disgruntled by people that have a political agenda offending our church values and our family unit and the privacy of our family unit. So my husband and I, my husband is a missing person, my child is also a missing person, and there are people that have been of legal representation that is of fraud, where they have no right to be imposing upon property without my consent or discussing my farms without my consent. So just to establish a few facts about people and boundaries, people that have no right to query or question should be careful about their level of intrusion and the dangers of the defamation that they have been claiming of my name without knowledge or without interaction. It's very dangerous, the level of slander that I've experienced by individuals with hopes to procure from my properties in Ardfort and Kilflyn, and that have upset the family unit of my husband and my child and I. So those that are upsetting my McElligott name and our heritage in this country and abroad in Eastern Europe, I would hope they'd have a little bit of common sense with regard to their limits, offending a married mother, of legislation and social reform, recovery advocacy, etc. So I just wanted to air my views on that. I'm a women and children's rights advocate for a long time, and there are some people being cheeky with property where they're not welcome or safe. So they've offended the McElligott name and the heritage, the culture and the land, and they would really be wise to clean up their act and clean out their mouths with a bit of holy water, salt water, whatever they use. It's quite dirty, the dangers that they've done to the church. So just so anyone might be taking leave of their senses and putting their lives on the line, any threats or any damages intended to the family unit makes my farm holdings very unsafe. Any persons thinking they're taking it upon themselves to discuss my church records of my matrimony or my child's church records really are not welcome with us and really are not recognized by our faith either. So they might get a few tenets of the law in place properly before they venture on to cause more problems. There's already been a few reprimands, and as I've said, the dirty defamation of this community for the past 20 years of my good name, character and reputation is quite serious. And it's not lightening or lessening the dirty deaths or the disrespect that I'm tolerating that makes other people's lives unsafe. So this is for women that are married and people that are intruding upon me that shouldn't be intruding upon me, and any individuals that are trespassing on property where they're not welcome. The authorities, the European Court of Human Rights, you just have to look at the Declaration of Eleanor Roosevelt to see the level and extent of what my application has brought forth to ye in Europe. So this is for the interest of the European Court of Human Rights with regard to the harassment of my family unit of Ardfort and Kilflyn by individuals that have no entitlement to anything from me or my child. It's a sad sign at the time.